I'm Halima, and this is Hidden Angles.
History is written by survivors. When we think about history, we imagine facts, dates, events. But there's a problem. Most of the people who lost never got to tell their side of the story. Empires record their victories. Revolutions celebrate their heroes. Nations preserve the versions that survived, while countless voices disappear forever. That's why many historical narratives aren't just records of what happened. They're records of who remained. And the strange part is, if the losers had won, the history you know today might tell the exact opposite story. Because history doesn't always belong to those who were right. It often belongs to those who were left alive to write it.
What if many of the things we believe about the past are shaped less by what happened and more by who was left alive to tell the story? The Roman Empire wrote extensively about its victories. Ancient kings carved their achievements into stones. Victorious rulers commissioned monuments, chronicles, and official histories. But defeated societies often left fewer records, and even when they did, those records were frequently destroyed. A famous example comes from ancient Egypt. Many pharaohs ordered the names of rivals erased from monuments, as if removing someone's name could remove them from history itself. This practice became known as damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory. Not only were people defeated, they were deliberately forgotten.
Ancient civilizations were smarter than you think.
When we imagine the ancient world, we often picture primitive people, limited knowledge, simple tools. But that's far from the truth.
More than 4,500 years ago, the Egyptians built the Great Pyramid with astonishing precision. The Romans constructed roads and aqueducts so durable. Some still exist today. Ancient astronomers tracked the movements of planets without telescopes. And civilizations across the world developed mathematics, engineering, and architecture that continue to amaze experts.
And the strange part is, if you were dropped into their world, you might struggle to build what they created, yet we still call them primitive.
Thousands of years before modern science, human beings were already solving problems that continue to amaze experts today. Let's begin with one of the most famous structures ever built. The Egyptians built the Great Pyramid of Giza, a structure made from roughly 2.3 million stone blocks. Its alignment is so precise that it still astonishes engineers today. Now consider the Romans. More than 80,000 kilometers of roads connected their empire. Their aqueducts carried water across vast distances, and some Roman concrete structures have survived till today. Now look up. The Babylonians looked to the sky night after night. They tracked the movements of planets and recorded their observations only on clay tablets, creating some of the earliest known mathematical and astronomical records in human history. Deep in the Americas, the Maya studied the heavens with remarkable precision. Their long count calendar tracked vast spans of time, and their astronomical observations were so accurate they could predict celestial events centuries in advance. Ancient Greece transformed the way humans think. Euclid helped establish the foundations of geometry. Archimedes explored mathematics, physics, and engineering. Their ideas became the building blocks of scientific thought. Ancient China produced innovations far ahead of their time. Zhang Heng created one of the world's earliest seismometers. And the Great Wall stands as one of the most ambitious engineering projects ever attempted.
Rulers use psychological tricks.
Have you ever wondered how rulers controlled millions of people? Long before television, the internet, or social media, most people assume it was force, armies, weapons, punishment. But power was never just about force.
Throughout history, rulers understood something important. Controlling minds is easier than controlling bodies. They use symbols, crowns, palaces, monuments, not just to impress people, but to make power feel larger than life. They created the feeling that power was absolute, even when it wasn't. And the strange part is, the most successful rulers weren't always the strongest. They were often the ones who understood human psychology best.
So how do you maintain power? The answer is simple. You convince people to obey voluntarily. Ancient Egypt understood this perfectly. Pharaohs commissioned enormous statues and monuments, not simply to celebrate themselves, but to communicate a message that says, this power is permanent. One of the most powerful psychological tricks ever used by rulers was divine legitimacy. Many rulers claimed that their authority came from the gods. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs were often viewed as divine figures. Chinese emperors ruled under the mandate of heaven. European monarchs promoted the divine right of kings. This changed the nature of obedience. Disobeying a ruler no longer felt like opposing a person. It felt like opposing a higher order.
Most historical facts were lost forever. How much do we really know about the past? More importantly, how much don't we know? Most of human history was never written down, and much of what was written has disappeared forever. Entire civilizations left behind mysteries that historians still struggle to explain. Entire languages can no longer be understood, and entire books have vanished. The famous Library of Alexandria alone may have contained hundreds of thousands of scrolls, many of which no longer exist. And sometimes, all that remains of centuries of human experience is a broken statue, a ruined wall, or a few lines of text. And the strange part is, what we call history today may only be a tiny fraction of what actually happened, because history isn't just what survived, it's also everything that was lost forever.
Even after writing was invented, preservation was never guaranteed. The famous Library of Alexandria is perhaps the most well-known example. Built in ancient Egypt, it became one of the greatest centers of knowledge in the ancient world. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls were stored inside. Many of those no longer exist, and with them vanished countless ideas. Some losses are even more mysterious. Throughout history, thousands of languages have existed. Many disappeared without leaving enough evidence to be understood. One of the most famous examples is the script of the Indus Valley Civilization, a civilization that flourished more than 4,000 years ago. Archaeologists have discovered thousands of inscriptions, yet no one knows exactly what they say. The more archaeologists discover, the more mysteries appear. Buried structures appear beneath deserts. Lost cities emerge from jungles. Now imagine trying to understand modern civilization using only a few buildings, a handful of books, and scattered pieces of technology. That's often the challenge historians face.
Propaganda changed entire nations.
Have you ever wondered how entire nations can begin believing the same thing. Most people assume propaganda is simply lying, but that's not what makes it powerful. The most effective propaganda doesn't create beliefs from nothing. It amplifies emotions that already exist. Fear, pride, anger, hope. A message repeated often enough can begin to feel like truth, especially when everyone around you seems to believe it too. And sometimes, that influence becomes so powerful, it can change the direction of an entire nation. And the strange part is, propaganda doesn't tell people what to think. The best propaganda teaches people what not to question.
The most powerful propaganda rarely begins with lies. It begins with something that feels true. Perhaps the most studied example is Nazi Germany. Joseph Goebbels, Minister of Propaganda, understood that controlling information could become as powerful as controlling armies. Newspapers, films, education, music, art, even children's books carried carefully designed messages. The message appeared everywhere until it felt normal. The Soviet Union employed similar techniques: massive parades, gigantic portraits, state-controlled newspapers, political slogans, public ceremonies. These displays served another psychological purpose. They created the appearance of unanimous agreement. Even people with private doubts often remained silent because they believed everyone else supported the system. Today, propaganda hasn't disappeared. It has evolved. Algorithms reward emotional content. Posts that provoke outrage or fear spread faster, not necessarily because someone planned it, but because human psychology remains the same. The technology changed, but the brain didn't.
Empires fell the same exact way. Have you ever wondered why so many of history's greatest empires and eventually collapsed? Most people assume they were defeated by stronger enemies, but that's rarely the whole story. The Roman Empire, the Mongol Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the British Empire, different cultures, different centuries, yet many followed surprisingly similar patterns. They grew powerful, expanded rapidly, then slowly cracks began to appear. Political instability, economic pressure, corruption, and internal divisions. And the strange part is, most empires weren't destroyed overnight. They collapse when too many hidden problems build up at the same time.
Most people imagine the end of an empire as one decisive battle, but history tells a different story. When people think of Rome, they think of its fall. When they think of the British Empire, they think of World War II. But these weren't the real beginnings of collapse. They were the final chapters. The problem has existed for decades, sometimes centuries. The battles simply made them impossible to ignore. So why do empires repeat the same pattern? One explanation comes from history itself. Success creates confidence. Confidence creates complacency. Leaders believe what worked yesterday will work forever. But the world changes. Trades, technology, neighbors, they all change. And if an empire changes too slowly, its greatest strength can become its greatest weakness. Historian Arnold Toynbee argued that civilizations don't disappear because challenges exist. They disappear when they fail to respond to those challenges. I'm Halima, and this was Hidden Angles.